Hey guys, it's Robin Cavallaro with the Robin Cavallaro Group at Remax 100, and we are doing something super fun and super different this time. And I am joined by Theresa and Johana in Hawaii, and I'm going to let them introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Johana Allison, and I'm originally from Peru. I've been in the island since 1994. So I consider myself a local.
She's one local wahine. I'm Theresa Coutant, and we lived here for 4 or 5 years. We moved to Colorado Springs for 5 years, and then we moved back. And my husband, like Joe's, is retired military, so we've made a lot of PCSs, probably like all of you watching. Yeah, and so Joe and I, it's been a dream of ours to team up, and we finally did, and we're loving it.
Yay. And so a lot of people know that follow me on Facebook is so my ex did 4 years Navy, and we were in Norfolk at that time. He got out, went to law school, and then he did 19 Coast Guard. So we did DC, Norfolk, Connecticut, DC. So,
Oh wow!
Oh, that's kind of cool that you got to stay on that East Coast too, right?
we were lucky. It's like, all right, well, again, attitude's everything and perception. So my son has autism and he's also asthmatic. So because of that, the Coast Guard, which is a lot nicer than the other ones, they made sure that we stay close to family. And my family was all in Richmond, his was Rhode Island. So we always had help.
Yeah.
How about y'all? Where have you been stationed?
Let's see. So I met my ex-husband here in Hawaii. Then our next station was Virginia, Richmond. After that, we went to Bamberg, Germany. After that, we moved to Florida. Then we came back to Hawaii. Then we moved back to Georgia and Virginia. Then back to Hawaii. And
oh my
yeah,
gosh.
one, I know, yeah. So yeah, I've been through the pain of PCS, and so has Theresa.
Yeah. So we got married. My husband was inactive, but he had joined the National Guard because we were getting married. We are going to save for our wedding and, the weekend a month. And then 9/11 happened and he was in law school. So then he was called back up and we were in Maryland at the time. So he was Fort Meade and then another base in near Fredericksburg or Frederick, I'm sorry. And then he joined as a JAG. So he stayed in for his 20, but we went from Maryland to South Carolina, back to Maryland for 5 years, where my family is. We went to Germany and then Hawaii, which I did not want to PCS to Hawaii. There was part of me that wanted to move to Hawaii. I never had an interest in visiting Hawaii. And now, as you know, we're back here for good. This is home. So yeah, we've been lucky. We've kind of covered, East Coast, Europe, Hawaii, the Pacific. It's been great, but we do know what the moves are like, especially for the spouses. I mean, the soldier or the military person, the active duty, they definitely have their stressors, even with the PCS. But as a spouse, it's a lot too.
It's all on us. It's,
Yep.
and so before I got into real estate, I worked for a defense contractor. So it wasn't so bad when he came home and he goes, "Hey, honey, I got orders." I'm like, "Awesome. I work from home. No big deal. My office will go from here to here. Easy."
Yeah.
But I got into real estate in Connecticut. And when he did that, and all of a sudden I'm like, I'm shutting down this business. I'm going to an area. I don't even know where this place, we were living in Chesapeake Beach. I'm like, I don't know where Chesapeake Beach is. I couldn't pick it out on a map, much less have people there that I'm going to suddenly go, "Hey, trust me with your real estate needs. I got you." It's like, it doesn't work that way. Yeah.
It's tough.
So what about y'all? Were you working in other places before or?
Yeah, so actually when we got married, I had just graduated from Chaminade University here in interior design, and I got offered this amazing job which I had to decline. But again, right, you weighed everything at the end. I can't complain. I had a really good life. But so we moved to Virginia. We were there for school, of course. When they were asking me, oh, where are you from? What brings you to Virginia? And I said my husband, and they knew it was a school, so they knew I wasn't going to be there for a long time. So I could not find a job. So I volunteered that first year. Then I moved to Germany. I ended up working at the education center. And then I got a government job, and I was, GS, which worked really great. But of course, I left, and every time I moved, I kind of had to reinvent myself, like,
Oh God.
all of us. And it was not until I got to Florida that we started looking for a house to buy, and that's how I got into, interest in real estate. Then I got myself a job at the Association of Realtors in Orlando, and I thought, oh, this is interesting. And then when we moved back to Hawaii, my brother-in-law at that time was working for Remax Honolulu, and that's how I got in. And I pretty much stayed, like, moving back and forth. I was able to, from when we PCS from Hawaii, I was able to find jobs or, link with people at other Remaxes. Like I work for Remax Commonwealth in Virginia, in Richmond.
wow.
And then, back to Hawaii. But it's challenging, to say the least. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
That's putting it mildly, very mild.
Yeah.
And what about you, Theresa?
When we got married, I was working for Catholic Relief Services. I was working in fundraising. So I worked for them for about 12 years. And I was able to do part-time when our daughter was born, just a day a week from home. No, a day a week I would go into the office. And then South Carolina, same. I did take that with me because I was able to do it remotely. Moved back to Maryland, same. But then we went to Germany. I couldn't do that from there. So I always volunteered at the kids' schools, and I was always interested in real estate. And everyone said, Theresa, you need to become a realtor. You need to get your license. But it's like exactly what you said. How do you do that when you're constantly PCSing? And our tours were usually 2 years, not 3 or 4 years.
Oh my gosh.
So that's an even quicker turnaround. But then I started doing staging because I was always interested in design, decor. So I started doing staging, and I did a lot of that here. And I worked with Joe here before we moved. And I actually got licensed in Colorado, where I said we were there for 5 years. But everything was kind of, like you said, you're starting over, and you don't have that local network, right? The people to draw from. So it's tough. And that was the biggest reason I didn't get my license sooner. It just didn't make sense, constantly moving.
So comparing where you were before being a realtor there and where you are now, what's the do you like it better in Hawaii where you were before? Is it similar?
People in Hawaii are amazing. They're absolutely amazing. There's just such, like, the spirit of aloha is true. There's no ice here. There's no sleet here. It's very rare that, you have a torrential downpour, unlike Colorado. There's traffic, but Colorado is spread out. So it still can take you a long time to get somewhere just because it's spread out, versus here it's traffic or rush hour traffic, right? But you try to time it around that. And we don't have a lot of condos in Colorado.
Oh, yeah.
And if you want to sell in the city, there are a lot of condos in Honolulu. So you can go and there could be 30, 50 lock boxes on a fence or on a post, and you need to find the lock box, or you need to distinguish your lock box. And then it might be 3 buildings per condo. So if the
Tower 1, Tower 2, Tower 3,
if the agent didn't say which tower, didn't give you, you're allowed to park in spot number 321A or 344, and you get there and they're both taken, and there's no guest parking. So those are, and then the laws are different too, of course. And closing here, on most states in the mainland, I think you get your keys the day of closing. Here you sign, and then it's funded, and then you get the keys. So it's about a 5-day wait from the time you sign until you actually get your
48 hours in between because of RESPA rules. It's crazy.
Oh
So
my
when
God.
people from the mainland come here,
Yeah.
and that's another thing, we call the 48 contiguous states the mainland.
I-
So when people come to Hawaii, we try to tell them, we're talking about closing, and then when we said signing, they're like, oh, we're actually closing early. I'm like, no, we're not.
you're just signing the
We're
papers.
signing the papers, and they get frustrated. So that's definitely on our buyer's package. That's definitely one of the first things we tell people, like, please don't get confused. Please, it's different. And of course, trying to work with lenders from the mainland.
Hold on 1 second.
Yeah.
Can you hear that?
No.
That's no matter where you are in the island, you're pretty much always in a flight path. So these are
Okay.
military flights. Yeah. So they go right for our house.
Yeah, I'm lucky. I'm not inside one right now. I used to be, but all right. So that is dramatically different than it is here in Maryland,
Yeah.
and the same thing as it was in Connecticut, and same in Virginia. When you leave the settlement table, you've got your keys, and you go home to your new house.
You can
And
schedule the delivery for that day.
yeah,
Household
well, I take it back. Virginia can be a little bit wonky because it depends on if they're funded. Maryland is what we call a wet state. You can't sign the documents unless the money is at the title company.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, you have to be fully funded or no documents.
No, here is, if there's no signatures, we can give you the money.
Oh my God. So that's super interesting to see the difference. I would have never known that. Like if I was buying a house there, I'd be like, all right, got my keys, bring in the U-Haul, we're in.
Yeah.
No.
It'd be like, and people plan for, we've had, at the very beginning of my career, I think that's what prompted me to put it in, our buyer packet, or actually repeat it. We have to repeat it again and again.
It's one of the first things we tell buyers.
And we keep reminding them because they're so excited they forget. So we're like, so yeah, that's a absolute.
You're like, pause. All right. So what would happen then? Because like with us, we do the walkthrough, leave the house, and immediately go to the settlement table where you sign. So you got such a small window that something could go wrong in the house.
Yeah.
When do y'all do the walkthrough on the house then?
6 days before closing, usually. So you could go from the walkthrough to signing, easy.
And
But
what happens during that 6 days if suddenly a tree falls on the house, a pipe bursts?
We have contingency in the contract that says that if anything happened in those 5 days, we're allowed to hold money to fix this thing. Yeah.
Gotcha. I am fascinated by that difference. It's huge.
Yeah.
All right. So I looked up here. All right. So y'all, I was shocked when we first talked. Y'all have so many bases there. So many.
Yes.
More than we have here in the DC area. I mean, I've got Patuxent Naval Base, Joint Base Andrews, which used to be Andrews Air Force Base, but they brought in other branches there now too. Coast Guard Headquarters, the Pentagon, Fort Meade, and the Naval Academy. And there's some smaller ones scattered, but those are the ones that most people know. Y'all said you got what, like 10, 15 or so?
Yeah, but like you, they're the main ones. Pearl Harbor, Hickam, Schofield. Tripler is a huge, it's not a base, but I mean, that's a huge, it's a hospital. So there are the main bases, but then we have a ton of sub bases.
Yeah, so like Army would have Schofield, which is the main one, Wheeler, where the helicopters are. They have Fort Shafter, where the generals meet. They have, Tripler is considered a small base, which is our military hospital. So there you go. It's only 4 for Army. We have Space Command. That's a new at the very end of the west side. Then we have Pearl Harbor, Hickam. We used to have Upper Point. Well, it's a small. It was a huge base, and it got contained to just an airport, a mini airport, and I can't remember what else it was, but that's Coast Guard. Then we have Kaneohe
Mhm.
Bay, the Marines.
That's the Marine Corps.
Yeah, Marine
Base.
Corps Base. And God, I'm drawing a blank. But yes, we have all
All the
our
branches.
forces.
You got
represent-
everybody covered. So, and again, I was a little bit shocked that you've got such a high military population and veteran, that are either active duty, retired, or those that have also served, just the vets. And I don't mean just as so casually. So don't anybody
Yeah.
get your knickers in a bunch, guys. We got this. It's all good. No need to get upset.
Thank
Keep
you
things
for that.
down to a minimum.
No
Um,
offense taken.
but my mind was blown. And the other thing that shocked me is I was thinking, if I got someone moving to the Big Island, then I need an agent that's physically there. But y'all say that's almost like commuting. You just jump from island to island to island. Like,
It takes us longer to get to the airport than to arrive to the other island. Absolutely.
Yeah.
That is. But at the same time, I would, we are just starting to get, getting familiar with Big Island. It's one of the biggest islands, of course. I mean, that's why we call it Big Island. Call the island.
That's the island of Hawaii.
So we have partners, so that's what we do. So
Yeah.
you can call us, but we work with an agent that's physically there because a million things can happen. Like a couple of years ago, we learned that there was an issue with surveys, and if you don't ask the right questions, then you find yourself in a bind. And I think that's kind of unfair to a client to say, oh yeah,
Some agents will do it, but
some agents will do it. It's like, oh yeah, I can absolutely do Maui. But so we're trying to be very.
it's like you living in Annapolis and trying to sell a house on the border of Delaware and Maryland, right?
It's not my area of expertise. And that's, it's funny you said that. I was shown a house over the weekend, and I'm going to try to keep it to a minimum to minimize my risk here. And as I'm walking in with my client, it's an open house, and the guy goes, come on in. I'll tell you all the details about the house, but I know nothing about the town it's located in because I don't work here. And my clients look at me and they go, do you know this area? I'm like, yes. And they go, can you answer our questions? I'm like, yes.
Yeah.
But I was like, I'm not comfortable. I mean, because part of the rule is you have to be an expert on the area. So I kind of stick in my little corridor here. I know it. I know it inside now. I'm good. And I'm comfortable. If it's outside that area, I know who to call.
Exactly.
Whether y'all are calling me and going, hey, I want to sell a house in Baltimore. I'm not an area expert in Baltimore. Nope.
But you know someone who is.
Yeah.
But I do. I know like 3 people, and I go, here's 3 amazing agents. Interview them and see which one works best for your clients.
That's exactly what we do.
And it's like, I'm licensed for Virginia. Am I going to cover the whole state? No. But that's why we build these referral relationships, and Remax is phenomenal with it.
Yeah.
Where it's I've never seen anything like it before in my life.
Yeah. Well, we have a client right now who owns land outside of the US, and they're looking at selling it. So we put them in touch with an agent there.
Yeah.
Because the referral network is so huge, and you've actually met these people and maybe worked with these people. Like you've interviewed them yourself. You wouldn't just hand them off to look. Oh, here, Joe. He's there. Here. Call Joe. Call Joe.
Yeah.
Like you've talked to him. You know him. You worked with him. Yeah.
It is not like I'm going onto a website going on a Facebook page going, hey, who works Honolulu?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you're like, do you got all these agents coming in? I'm like, no, let me introduce you to my friend. Which is
That's
like
how
I said,
we
nothing I've ever experienced before in my life. Because before I joined Remax, I will own this. When we were in Connecticut, I started out with ERA, and I'm going to give a huge shout out to my first broker there, Dan Sperduto. He taught me more in 2 years than I would have learned 20 years elsewhere.
That's
He
awesome.
took me under his wing. He taught me, he trained me, and eternally grateful. And then I went to White for a minute. But at the same time, my mom was in the process of passing away from breast cancer. And then my ex comes in and goes, we're moving. And at that point, I really didn't put my heart and soul into it. I'm like, all right, we're out of here in a few months. Get the house ready.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when we came to Maryland, I was getting my Maryland license. And again, go on Facebook. Hey, which broker is the best in Southern Maryland? And one of my friends said, talk to Mark Davis with Remax One, which is my previous brokerage. Nothing negative to say about him. Love him. He's amazing. I'm very happy where I am now with Ken. So everybody be happy. We can coexist. Um, but I was like, I can't do that. I don't know. And when I talked to him, I'm like, I can do this. I can be Remax. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm like, awesome. I feel like there's a red, white, and blue balloon somewhere tattooed. Yeah.
Yep.
It is like a big family. I do feel like we both feel like it's a great atmosphere to be
And
in.
but you know what also, and I don't know that I was cognizant of it at the time, but I think everywhere we moved except for Germany, we've purchased. And I think we've always used a Remax agent
We
to
did
buy and
not.
sell.
We
Sorry.
did not. And I had a couple of them that were not Remax that taught me what not to do in the business. And one did not last long in the business, and the other one sadly passed away. So I'm not going to disparage her memory, but we'll just say I appreciate that. I
It made
appreciate
you a better
that.
agent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. So what's one story about a PCS that you're like, oh, honey, I got this one. Just step aside. This one will happen.
I have one when we PCS to Colorado and finally had our household goods delivered because we were in a rental for 3 months, pretty much unfurnished. It's a crazy story. Like, I went to the Goodwill and bought just enough dishes for us, and we bought a used foosball table online. Yeah, we were drinking wine out of coffee cups, and Johana found out, and she Amazoned us some nice wine glasses.
That's what
Like,
friends are for.
Yep, we were bare minimal. So when we finally, after 3 months, had our household goods delivered to our house that was going to be our house, they picked up movers off basically off the street. And
Oh my God.
one of the movers was, I guess, detoxing, and
What?
he had a seizure in our house on the carpet. He soiled himself because he was so out of it. He was foaming at the mouth. We called the ambulance. Basically, my husband and I ended up unloading the truck because the movers were attending to him, which they didn't need to because paramedics were there. So that was like, and I could give you more details that I won't. But that was probably our craziest like PCS story. I mean, it was insane. And of course we ended up tipping him generously because we learned he was homeless. And we wanted to make
one of the most generous people you've ever met.
And you're almost like, here, please take extra money and thank you for not dying on my floor.
Yes, pretty much. I think that's what they were thinking.
It was insane.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was crazy. But I just want to throw in there one thing. If people don't already do this, one of the best things you can do for your movers when they're packing you up and unpacking you is to feed them well, keep them hydrated. Of course, be gracious and grateful, and tip them well. Because we have never had major damage ever, and I've heard horror stories.
Okay, so I'm going to say this. Our first transfer, no one told me about this. No one. Zilch, nada. All I heard was have food there for them and tip them when they're done. So they walk in, I'm like, I got food for you. But I forgot, I didn't tell them up front, oh, don't let me forget I have an envelope for each one of you. That was like the quiet part that was going to be, here at the end, thank you very much, sir. When we got to Norfolk, we had 2 full pages of stuff that was broken, including our wash machine.
Aw.
Crazy.
And so after that, every time I'm like, oh, I've got all this food for you, but if you prefer something else, let me know. I'll happily order pizza. Oh, and by the way, don't let me forget before you leave, I've got an envelope for each one of you.
Yeah.
Nothing else that got broke after that.
Yeah.
Yep. That's
Yeah.
a huge tip, isn't it?
Yes.
It is. It's like, please take my money. Just
Yeah.
get
But that's a huge tip to new
the
first time
virgin ones.
PCSers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. The first timers. It's like, no, you tell them up front. I got a tip for you. You know, this is not like eating at Applebee's where you just wait till the end and you decide what you want to put down there.
Mhm.
And after that, your household goods arrived in good shape.
Yeah.
Each PCS after that, yeah.
Every time.
Yeah.
Every time.
Even
So,
internationally. Yeah, we never had an issue.
One thing I found out was the hard way that, most of our PCSs were overseas, back and forth, back and forth. When we moved locally or, just a few states away, they would come here and create our stuff and, seal it and everything. And then when we, 3 months later, a couple months later, you get your crates and open it up and everything. Well, when we moved, just a few states over, they didn't seal anything. They actually had 2 household goods in one of the containers. When they opened it up, it was somebody else's furniture in there. I'm like, wait, what? They're like, oh yeah, because they're also going to Georgia, so we need to. And we're like, oh, okay. And of course, when we got to our new duty station, I had 4 chairs out of 6. And just like weird things that were missing that of course you just can't replace.
Yeah.
And
no.
we had Germany that you just can't find here. So I don't know if there's anything you can do about it.
Well, I know outside of dealing with the movers specific, there is a website, a Facebook page called Lost During PCS. And a lot of people have found their missing items there. Yeah.
Well, yeah, that was years ago.
Right.
So I don't think there was social media,
but yeah, just another tip is that definitely post there, or if you get somebody else's belongings, it's a good place to post, because I'm not sure that the movers will give them back to
that
the
had
proper
nothing
owner.
to do with the movers. They were amazing. It was just, I was very surprised when they opened it up and I saw furniture. And then when, of course, I just knew I had to kiss goodbye. I was like, okay, bye. It was great. We had a good life together.
All right. So again, we were very lucky because there was only one time that my ex said, I got this. I'll handle the base. I'll arrange the movers. I'll do it all. And I went, all right, you do it. It's like,
feeling this is going to be like you're not tipping the first time, not telling them up front.
Oh yeah. So he gets off the phone. He's all proud of himself. He goes, got it all worked out. They're going to pick us up in Norfolk. We're going to go up. We're going to sign the papers in Connecticut. And then we're going to go up. Our kids love Storyland. They were little. It's up in New Hampshire. If you've never been, it's an awesome place to go because you get to ride the rides with the kids. And then he goes, then we'll go through Maine. We'll come back. And then we get there, we call them and they'll bring us our stuff in about 2 weeks. I'm like, back up. You want me to be in a house with 2 weeks with no furniture, no clothes, no toys,
and kids,
and our 2 children. Okay. They were 6 and 8 at the time. I'm like, no. And keep in mind, the 6-year-old was autistic. I'm like, this is not how this works. So I'm like, give me a minute. Went in there, called the lady at NOB in Norfolk. And I said, I need a huge favor. You won't believe what my husband did. I don't believe it. He's an attorney. And he's, at the time, I think he was like a JG. No, he was lieutenant, full commit lieutenant. I mean, not a high ranking. And I'm like, rah, 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 rah. And man, she was going through the ugliest divorce. She goes, I hate men. I hate attorneys. She goes, girl, I'm going to fix it for you. And I'm going to tell you right now, I can recommend a divorce attorney. I'm like, give them to me because I may need one after this. So
That
by the
is
time I hung up, they were picking up our stuff in Norfolk. The next morning we were signing our stuff in Connecticut. And that night our stuff was being delivered.
That
That's
is
awesome.
crazy.
And I got on the phone, like, we'll leave for Storyland a day later. He goes, why? I said, our stuff is getting delivered that next day. And he goes, how'd you do that? And I'm like, oh, she hates men. She hates attorneys. I said, so don't ever call her back.
Let me talk to her.
I'm like, just leave it to me. And it's like after that, he was never allowed to be involved in again, other than picking the house and picking this school for the kids. No.
That
I'm
is
like,
awesome.
stay in your lane, honey. Stay in your
Yeah.
lane.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know, and I'm going to throw this out there because I know we're all on the same page. There is no way on God's green earth I would have put my name on that blank check he wrote. He served 4 years Navy, 19 Coast Guard, 23. He was owned by the U.S. military.
Yeah.
If I had done that, the first day they was said, no nails, no makeup, and you're wearing this uniform, which God bless all you women who do. Y'all look total badass. Not my style. And you got to put your hair up, get rid of the earrings and the bracelets and everything else. I'm like, I don't think this is for me.
Yeah. It's definitely, yeah, a huge sacrifice.
Yeah.
It's, I would have been like Private Benjamin and it would not have played out too well.
You know, having said that, I totally agree with you on so many aspects of that. And one of this has nothing to do with moving, but it was a deployment for my husband to Afghanistan. And the first day he got there, they were living in shipping containers. And I hear this noise, and we were lucky like that we could what was it? Not FaceTime, but what was it that we used to do?
Skype.
Skype.
Yeah.
Skype. And so, you know, it's in and out, but I could hear this noise. And he's like, oh yeah, my room just got took a mortar attack last night. So the night before he got in there, and he's like, but babe, the chances of it happening again to the same shipping container are like, it's not going to happen. Don't worry, I'm okay. So then, of course, you know, you're on the phone and they got to go because incoming, right? There's the siren that goes off. But honestly, people would say, like, how do you do it as a spouse? How do you do it with 2 kids and they were little and yeah, but I think you just do it. But for them, like, it was hard because I had the kids, right? He had nobody. I mean, he had his fellow soldiers, yeah, for sure, and they're a family. But it's different. Like, you leave your spouse and your children, and so I would, you know, send him photo books and things, and like he admitted he would cry looking at them, you know, because he missed us so much. So like what you're saying, giving them full credit. People are like, how do you do it home alone with the kids? No, they're the ones like deploying and it's not safe, and they are there without their spouse and children. So I think we also need to remember that when we talk about, you know,
And
spouses holding down the fort, because it's both sides.
And that's the thing. I mean, it's in all seriousness, it takes the family to serve.
It does.
You know, because they've got it. We were lucky. My ex in the Coast Guard, he didn't deploy. Aside from 9/11, it was a 9 to 5 job. Okay. He was, and then it was a little bit awkward when we were in Norfolk because he was a Marine safety officer. So we had to go out every time something hit a bridge, which I hate to break it to you, after the Francis Scott Key Bridge got hit a month ago. That actually happens almost every day somewhere in this country. There's a bridge getting hit. It just doesn't collapse.
Wow.
But he was home every night for dinner, which allowed me to get into real estate. Our kids had daddy home. They got to grow up with him. And I look at some families and the person serving is gone for 6 months every couple of years or every year or whatever. And that is brutal on all members of the family, not just the spouse at home, but the person serving, the kids, everyone. I don't think people realize how hard it is to go through all of that.
Yeah. Alberto was in Iraq when I had Andrea, right? So it was junk.
Yeah. And I know you're like, all right, come on.
I know. I'm sorry. I was like, I never. Wow. Just
But
thinking about like reliving that, it's like, oh yeah. Like,
it's, yeah, because when he was in the Navy, we were dating. And you know, it's tough as a girlfriend, you don't get the support, you don't get the news or whatever. And this was between 90 and 94. So we didn't have cell phones then. We didn't
oh,
have
yeah.
emails. There was no FaceTime. There was no nothing. You
Yep.
wrote the letters and you numbered
Wrote
them on the outside so they knew which order to open because they got like 5 letters at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
No,
like
yeah.
if you know, you know.
Mhm.
And it's like, you know, you learned if you're sending cookies, you put a piece of bread in there to absorb the
Keep 'em
moisture,
moist.
so you don't all get moldy and nasty.
And you will pay $50 to ship home baked cookies to your.
You do, you do. And that little $1.95 Christmas tree you found on clearance, you are now paying $50 to ship all of this stuff so they can
You
have
just think
a
you
tree in
mail
their
it to
secret.
one.
Yeah,
Yep.
No,
you know,
yeah.
but I think, and again, for us, we've been through the PCSing, we've been through the house buying, we've been through the house selling. We're, as realtors, we know how to deal with our clients better who are going through it because we've lived it.
And you're so willing to help them. We just had clients move here from Colorado, and they're amazing. And he's former military, retired police officer. She's a nurse, going to be working as a nurse on the island. And there's so many things you can do to help your buyers who are moving from out of state. We went and set up an air mattress for them. We put food in the refrigerator, waters and sodas and beer in the refrigerator. You know, we made sure they had dishes to eat off of because their household goods weren't going to be arriving. So they didn't need to eat off of paper plates and drink out of plastic cups, disposable cups. You know, check their mail before they get here. You can, they can authorize you to pick up their vehicle from, you know, the shipping port. Just so many little things that you can do. And because you've been through it, you know to offer to do it, to offer to them that you can do it. We were on standby to meet their dog handlers at the house in case their flight didn't get here in time, you know? So there are just so many little things that you know would have been helpful if somebody could have done it for you.
You're more sympathetic and you do it, you know, with all the love in your heart.
Yeah,
You're
you
like, don't worry, we got it. And they appreciate it. It makes a world difference to them because they feel like,
And they don't expect it.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Or,
Well,
like,
it's like,
go ahead.
during COVID, I had one client, and this is one that kind of touched my heart a little bit more than others. They were moving here from Oregon, bought a house sight unseen. I mean, we're FaceTiming the house. I am on pins and needles because it's like 3 weeks from the time they settled until they were actually getting here. And I rode by the house and the grass is like this. So I have my landscaper go over there and cut the grass for them. So when they got here, it's already done. They weren't having something else on their plate. And then met them when they got here. And oh my God, the key that was in the lockbox didn't work. So next thing you know, I'm calling a locksmith and I have no idea how this happened. But I'm calling a locksmith to get him to come over and change the lock so we can get into the house. And they're exhausted because they had just driven cross country from Oregon and they've got 3 boys and a dog and 2 cars. And they're just like, and I've got a bottle of wine. I'm like, do you need a straw or would you like your glasses?
Or an IV.
Yeah. Or Ivy. We'll just, you know, yeah, not a nurse, but you know, we can figure it out.
We'll make it work.
Hey, you know, but that's the thing is like, we're so used to this. And I don't want to take anything away from other realtors. You know, everybody works hard. Everybody's got their groove. Everybody's got their way to make their clients' experience better. I love this concept that we came up with and how everybody's on board about sharing the value that RE/MAX military spouses bring to the table and what we can do and how amazing it is at our localities and just showing the value that we bring to the table aside from everything else.
Yep.
Correct. So it's
Yeah.
like an addict.
Because anybody can show you a house.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. So, and I'm the one that's not allowed on HGTV after I said, no, I'm not going to be filtered. So, because they're like, you need to go in and say how pretty it is. I'm like, but it's got a fuzzy wall, or am I going to frame it and paint Elvis on it? And I go, do I call this red thing on the carpet? Just go, maybe it's Kool-Aid. Maybe it'll come out, you know? Or do we identify as a possible crime scene?
I know, right? I'm not gonna be in national television and tell people it's gonna be okay.
See, that's
Yeah.
integrity. Like
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
honesty and
Yeah.
moral compass. You're not
Yeah.
It's
gonna
like,
be
let's just break out the OxyClean and we'll just pour that on there. We'll watch that stain come right out. It's probably just a red wine stain that they spilled and celebrating. You
Yeah,
know, but ignore the chalk outline too. You know, that was what I'm saying.
Yes.
You know, but they're
yeah.
like, no, you can't say any of that. I'm like, then I can't be on your station. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
love it. See, your clients know what they're getting.
Yes.
Like
That's huge.
Yeah, there's no filter here. No, it's real, it's raw. What you and I know y'all are the same way. It's like what you see is what you get.
Yeah.
so I laugh. I say we have no secrets.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's good or bad. We have no secrets. We're
Yeah.
open book.
Oh, no skeletons in their closet. Not at all. Nothing.
But but the best part too is, like I said, y'all are now forming a team. We're sorry Jennifer couldn't be with us. She'll be here next time.
Yeah,
Yes.
Jennifer's awesome.
Yeah, you definitely
Yeah.
did. Her. She has really good stories too.
And what's ironic is Jennifer used to be part of my office up
She
until
told
9 months ago.
us.
She told us.
I
Yes.
love that. And it was so funny. The first time I met Jennifer, I don't know if it was the way she spoke or
Yeah.
what. I was pretty sure she was from Maryland. So I'm like, where are you from? I don't know. Like, go Terps.
So what
So
part of Maryland is your family in?
Cecil County. So that's the
Okay.
Delaware, Maryland, Pennsylvania border, about an hour north of Baltimore.
Okay, so is that like where Havre de Grace is, or a
Yeah.
little bit?
Just
Okay.
over the bridge from Happy Grace. Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
So
It-
when, go ahead.
yeah, that's an area to go. I know who to call.
Exactly. So do I.
Yeah.
Yeah, but so we were living in Baltimore. I moved to Baltimore. I was dating my husband, got married. I moved into his place, which was in the middle of, well, it was, if you're familiar with Baltimore, it's like a
Yeah.
great street, a scary street, a great street, a scary street. And you just have to know which ones are the scary streets. But so we got married. I moved into his place, and that's when his unit was called up after 9/11. And I was used to leaving my keys in my car overnight where I grew up, a lot of farmland. Everybody knew everybody. It was great. And then I moved to Baltimore City. And I'm a girl. My mom was like, don't drive on the highway. It's dangerous. And the Beltway, I grew up hearing horror stories about the Beltway. And so
you have all the time. You're like,
I was petrified. I would get home late at night. My husband was obviously not there. We're newlyweds. I'm dropped in the middle of the city. My doors are locked and I'm looking around, get my house key ready, and I jet to my front door. And you know what I mean? Like it was scary. So yeah. Just one of the
And the thing is, Baltimore, just like everywhere else in the entire world now, is like you've got pockets that you can leave your keys in your car, the windows rolled down, nothing's going to happen. Then you got pockets that it doesn't matter if you lock it up with the little steering wheel lock. You're going to come out, wheels are gone, it's pockets everywhere that you're like,
absolutely.
yeah, it is,
But when you grow up a little sheltered nerd like me, I'm finally in the big city. I didn't think there was anywhere safe in Baltimore. Because I was just taught to be afraid of the city. Yeah.
No, and it's, I have a lot of friends that live up there. So like I said, there are pockets that you can stroll down the street anytime, day or night. You'll be
Oh
fine.
yeah. Oh yeah.
And
I mean, and we lived, we lived there, and then we bought a new house. I don't know, a few months after we were married, still in
yeah.
Baltimore. So exactly what you said, totally safe. But again, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and it's been an experience. But just because I'm not an expert on the area, that's why I know who to call. And I think that's the most responsible thing we can do for our clients ever is to say, I adore you. I love working with you. I am not an expert on that area.
It
And
would
if,
be a disturbance.
Yes.
yeah, and if they say, no, 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 you're still working for me. I know the area, like, all right, game on, we're going. But if you don't, that's where it gets into being stupid and putting your license at risk. You're putting your client at risk for making the biggest financial disaster they can possibly do. Yeah. So, all right, if I was coming to Hawaii for a visit to think about living there, what is the thing you absolute must do?
We were talking about that. To me, it's the ocean, the beach. You have to. Like, that's one of the first things you do. Like, I would take my guests immediately either to have a Mai Tai by the Royal Hawaiian, Waikiki Beach,
Yeah.
or I'll take them to my backyard because the beach is right here. And just have like poke bowls and, a bottle of wine, just watch the sunset. Like, the ocean has my heart.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
of course, there's a million other things. What's yours?
Well, the thing about Hawaii to me is it's the people. They're just so warm and welcoming and accepting. Everybody is accepted here. Like, we are white as white can be. I have a white blonde haired daughter and a curly red haired son, and they fit in just like anybody else. So I think that's kind of an anomaly for a lot of places. They stand out, but they don't stand out. Like, they mix just like everybody else. So the people, but the one thing they have to do, I love the West Side beaches. They are the most beautiful beaches on the island, in my opinion. Some of them have more surf, some of them don't have as much surf, so you can get whatever you want. The sunsets, the turquoise waters. I just love the West Side beaches. Yeah,
That's a,
The hikes.
great hikes.
Right. Like, beautiful, like Coco Head, which I've only done one in my life.
And Diamond Head, which everyone hears about, right?
Yeah.
You have to hike Diamond Head if you're here as a tourist.
And Pearl Harbor. I
Yeah.
think everybody should go visit the memorial.
It's like, without saying.
It touches you. It touches
And
So
we
it's-
have guests who go like every time they come. We have
it-
guests who go to Pearl Harbor every time they come.
you. And I that's one thing I don't mind doing. I will take my guests every time, like, I could go
every day.
as many times and it still touches you. It's
it-
amazing.
So with my first career, I worked for a defense contractor, and one of my clients was Navy and Active Fleet. So this was before Zoom, before being able to hack into everybody's computer. So I had to go to Pearl twice to install software and training. And the last time I did go to Pearl, and it's shocking because you're standing there and you can see the top of the ship like this far below the water. And you're almost like, well, how could you not have gotten out? But then all the way the doors that's heart-wrenching.
Yep.
I know.
And the one thing that shocked me the most is how different pineapple tastes there than it does here.
Yep.
It's
that
completely
red dirt.
different.
It's that
It's
red dirt.
completely different. Yeah. It's I mean, I guess it's picked a little bit earlier before it's shipped over here. But y'all are getting it fresh and sweet and extra juicy. And I'm like, I want that. I want that.
But it's actually, I don't know if you got to go to Dole Plantation.
I did. Yeah.
You do. And then they have this pineapple ice cream, pineapple cakes, pineapple.
So I don't know if you know this, and this has nothing to do with real estate, but it is Hawaii. So, and I have a couple right now. You can cut off the top of the pineapple. You can do this and put it in water until it grows roots. So
Oh,
you have the stem of the pineapple, right? And then cut about this far down into it, cut off the top, just like you're going to peel the pineapple, cut the pineapple and put it in water. I put it like in a mason jar of water. Once it gets roots, then you put it in a pot and you can grow your own pineapple. So you can do that.
really?
Here you are. Yeah. So I have one now. The pineapple pineapple plant is what, a good 2 feet, 3 feet tall. And it'll grow one pineapple in 2 years. That's
Oh my God.
2 years to grow one pineapple.
That's
So when we left here, Joanna and another good friend harvested my pineapple after we moved, and they had a little ceremony and
We had,
toasted.
pineapple martinis. Yes.
hey, so that
So
sounds
you
good.
timed
I want
it
the
right,
recipe for
Robin.
that.
Time it right. You can be here when we harvest that pineapple.
Hey, I'm all in. I'm all in.
And I
Just
know Jennifer does a lot of this. She has apple bananas at her house. I think she has calamansi. I have calamansi.
Yeah.
She has quite a few tropical fruits growing in her house.
good
We'll have
Lord.
to do-
All right, Amy, when you're listening, we need a event in Hawaii. Just go. Yeah,
Absolutely.
we need the tax write-off, honey. Go for it, Amy. So
That's right. Come on, Amy.
yeah. Well,
Love it.
guys, I am super happy that y'all are part of the first video, and we will be doing this every week. And different people. Eventually, we'll bring in spouses that are not realtors, that are either in your market or my market or someone else's market, that have questions that we can help them ask. Eventually, we'll start bringing in other professionals too that maybe can give us advice on either estate planning or,
Yes.
home inspection, or I hate to say it, divorce. Let's see. Who's
Yeah.
using one? Yeah. And it's like, and I'm sorry, it's like if you're getting divorced as a military spouse, it's completely different than anything else.
Oh, we have tips, right?
Yeah. And, but just, make it where this is going to be an informational series and get as fun and real and raw as we can.
Yeah, because there are some tough topics as well. I want to
Yeah.
share, Robin. I think I mentioned to you before we started recording. So this is how small the Remax world is. We have a friend visiting right now, a friend and his wife visiting from Colorado. He's a broker owner of Remax Real Estate Group there in Colorado. So that's what a small, like they're staying with us at our house,
Nice.
So that's what a small network Remax is. As big as they are, it's a small family network.
Friends, good.
Well, it's like one of our friends, his wife passed away 2 years ago. And so like a couple came from San Diego to Jersey 2 weeks ago. I went up, another friend came up from Richmond, and we're all Remax, but we're family. And we were there to support him. And then tomorrow morning, I am heading to Atlanta for the weekend for 4 days. And there's about 30 of us coming in from around the country that we're going to mastermind. We're going to laugh. We're going to
That's awesome.
make better relationships. And, and I was talking to one lady and I go, I'm excited. I think I'm going to be the dumbest one in the room.
Oh,
No, but I mean that sincerely, because
So
some of the brain power that they're bringing in and the way they run their teams and the way they run their business, I'm like, teach me, Obi-Wan, teach
I would
me,
love to be the right?
and it's like,
just stop it all up.
yeah, I'm a sponge. Teach me, train me, educate me, and I am happy to go into a mastermind as the dumbest one.
Because you're gonna come out so much smarter.
Amen to that.
So much
Yeah.
more knowledge.
Yeah. So it's gonna be fun. And now we're gonna hope and pray that Facebook Live actually recorded everything and we're still good.
Oh.
We can just lose it.
If not, it was a lot of fun.
If not, we'll do it again.
Yeah.
Because y'all are my guinea pigs and I am so grateful for that. So
No, we are
Likewise.
so grateful for
You're
the
awesome.
opportunity and for putting this together. This was such a great idea. And
Well-
I think it's gonna help a lot of people. So thank you for that.
yeah, so we just gotta see who's up next. But we're gonna
Yes.
have fun. And I adore you both. Y'all are both amazing
Alright.
realtors. So if you need someone in Honolulu or anywhere in Hawaii, call these two ladies. They got you covered, and I got you in Maryland.
I was
So
gonna say, and
Yes.
Robin's got you in Maryland. She got
Any-
you.
and anywhere else, just call us. We'll tell you who to call.
Got
So
somebody. Yeah.
yeah,
Good people.
yeah. Well, have an amazing day.
Thank you,
I
Robin.
appreciate
Same to
you.
you.
I'll try that.
Aloha.
Aloha.
I mean, look, if I can learn the full side, I can learn aloha. All right. Well, y'all have a wonderful day.
Thank
Take
you so much,
care.
Robin. We
You
appreciate
too.
you.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.